Today's session is entitled Help the Helper Heal, Self-Care for the Professional. And we can really call it self-care for the soul because this breakout session is perfect for anyone who is in the helping profession. That can be a mom, this could be a caregiver, CNA, social worker, police officer, surgeon, whatever it is that you do on a day-to-day basis that involves taking care of anyone, yourself included. This session is for you. Today, you will learn how to show up for yourself. You're going to take an assessment, and all of these links will be exactly what Audrey said earlier. I also provided you with a workbook. So everyone, oh, you guys, you can't see it. But everyone in attendance today, oh, here it is, if I come back, will receive a nice workbook. It is a digital copy of Help the Healer Heal. And you're able to actually do the workbook while we go throughout the session, or you can complete the workbook after the session, whatever your preference is. If you would like to just hone in and watch the PowerPoint, that's fine too. We're going to define some terms today. We're going to talk about self-care and healing, trauma. We're going to talk about how to show up for yourself and your community, and why it's important to take care of yourself and not try to be Superman and Superwoman all of the time. The assessment that you'll have access to is called the Professional Quality of Life Scale, or the ProQuil. It measures compassion, fatigue, burnout, and secondary traumatic stress, okay? And so once you get those numbers, that will help you to identify exactly where you are in the terms of compassion satisfaction and compassion fatigue. All right, let's get to it. What does trauma look like? I want you to take your time and put it in the chat. What does trauma look like? There is a 30-second delay or so. So I may not be able to see it right now, but feel free to converse with each other and share your experience or your opinion. What exactly does trauma look like? How does it show up? How has it shown up in your life? When we think about trauma, we think about someone who walks around sad or terrified. We think about someone who walks around with their head down, or someone who may have symptoms of PTSD. But the truth is, we can be around people who are experiencing and who have experienced trauma and never know it. I went to work every day. Thank you, Audrey. I went to work every day, happy as a clam. I came in, I bought donuts for everybody, even when I was an intern. I always had the biggest smile on my face. I always came in and I greeted everyone the same every morning. Hey, good morning. How are you doing? Right? And it was so off-putting to some of the workers because I did my graduate internship in a space that may not be the most inviting, right? And so if you've ever had to deal with social services or anything like that, those people don't want you coming in smiling and being chipper. Yes, I'm getting some physical symptoms, anxiety, not answering telephone calls, all people pleasing. Come on now, you're getting ahead of the game here, okay? Great job. Yes, masking. And so that's exactly what was happening. Do you know that my internship actually called my professor and told her to have me to be less happy when I came in the building because it was just distracting to everyone? But what they didn't know is I was experiencing the worst trauma of my life in that moment. Disassociating, that is a perfect term, as well as masking. And we've all had to do it at some point in our lives. It does suck the energy out of you. Thank you for sharing that. And it makes you feel as though you have to hide. Sometimes we use humor and laughter, like this person said, and sometimes we're just numb. It may not always be outwardly apparent. You may not have any idea about who's suffering from trauma, what it is that they're going through, and anything like that. So let's use a perfect example. Will Smith, right? Will Smith. I'm not going to get off on a tangent with this, but who would have ever known? That's what trauma looks like. Trauma can come up in different spaces and it can occupy our time, our emotional, mental space, our real estate in our mind. It takes over. And sometimes it makes us do irrational things that can really jeopardize our life, okay? So it's good that you all know that there's different ways that trauma can show up. So today we will learn how to identify the challenges of working with at-risk individuals. We'll learn the definitions of terms that we will use during this presentation. We'll identify our own vulnerabilities and the tools we need to move forward. We'll learn how to thrive within the 8 dimensions of wellness, and we'll achieve more balance in life by incorporating boundaries and activities to help you discover your passion and purpose. Now, at the end of this, you guys, hold on, it is a treat. These last 15 slides are really just going to sum it all up, and it's all going to be worth it. So make sure you participate and hang on in there, okay? I also want to talk about imposter syndrome. If anyone here has ever achieved anything in life on a large scale, or even not a super large scale, but just achieving your goals in general, you can actually suffer from imposter syndrome if you start to feel like you doubt your abilities, if you feel like a fraud, if you feel like other people are smarter or better than you, even in something that you've mastered or something that you have expertise in, right? Have any of you ever suffered from imposter syndrome where you've been asked to do something or someone commends you and congratulates you on something and you just start to backpedal? Um, Usually in our one-on-one sessions, when I talk about imposter syndrome, a lot of my professionals have issues with this. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to celebrate your accomplishments and acknowledge your achievements. And so we're going to keep this on a high note, but we're also going to identify some things that we may need to delve into a little bit deeper, okay, to help us to recognize our own trauma. When we commit to self-care throughout our career, it shows that we value ourselves, our relationships, and our professional work. If we fail to commit to self-care for ourselves, it is detrimental to relationships around us. Self-care and imposter syndrome, there's a correlation between the two. Because when we take care of ourselves, our mind-body connection is stronger. And so when we achieve things, we're able to celebrate in that. We're able to bask in that. We're able to acknowledge that. But when we're sitting in a space of trauma, or we're sitting in a space of stress, right? That hasn't been released or worked through, we're more likely to suffer from imposter syndrome.